Racing Car Show, London, January. Curtain raiser for the year ahead, and the largest show of its kind in the world. Here in the main hall, the British Racing and Sports Car Club stages this unique event. Every type of performance car is on show, from the out-and-out racing to the way-out one-off. And enthusiasts come from all over Britain to look at the speed equipment. Two full-size slot racing circuits, a racing car simulator, and many other sideshows complement the serious business of selling to the racing man. Anything from a roll of checkered tape to a full-blooded Formula One car can be bought over the counter at this show. The British Racing and Sports Car Club is represented with its own stand, and the whole event is their show, staged by the enthusiast. But now it's time to wheel out the cars and put them in another setting. Brands Hatch, March 12th. The Race of the Champions. A capacity crowd watches as the full international Formula One field moves off for the first race of a new season. Run in 2 heats and a final, the race provided an opportunity for the enthusiast to see the latest Formula One cars in action, driven by the world's leading Grand Prix drivers. In the Eagle Westlake, Surtees, Honda, Bandini, who so tragically lost his life at Monaco later in the season. Gurney in the Eagle held his lead in both heats and the final, in spite of a dramatic drive by Bandini in the new Ferrari. And Siffert, in the Cooper Maserati, slipped into 3rd place in the last moments of the final. That was Beltois and the Matra, all crossed up at Druids Bend. Rindt, Cooper Maserati, is in trouble at Dingle Dell, but nothing troubles Gurney as he scores his first Formula One victory in his own car. As the saloons come out for their dice, Gurney sets off on his tour of honor. Everything from a Ford Falcon to a Mini is on the line for the 2 parts of the saloon car race here combined into one high-speed scramble. Frank Gardner in the Allen Mann Ford Falcon pulled out an early lead, but the rest of the field was involved in the usual wall of death stuff. Graham Hill held on to second place in the Lotus Cortina, and Rhodes just made it in the Mini class. Williams in the Cooper S gives up the unequal struggle, and Fitzpatrick ends the day by stopping for a picnic at Druids. Cadwell Park, where the Northern Centre has its April meeting. While some competitors sort out their problems in the paddock, others undertake a last-minute tune-up on the start line. The clubman's race can be relied upon to provide its share of excitement, and today was no exception. Tony Moore in the U2 held the lead throughout, but behind him the pack was involved in some highly unusual motoring. Joel Chevron is thumped up the back and retires, while another competitor finishes the race on foot. It's an exhausting job being a marshal. On to the single-seater race, which Pickering won after a race-long duel with Palmer. Yates finds himself facing the wrong way, out in the countryside, and the flagman dresses back to let the pack through. Out come the saloons for the traditional Mini versus Ford battle. At the end of lap 1, Campbell Cole has the Mini well ahead, and the rest of the pack gets stuck into the battle for second place. And there's the well-known grass cutter at work again. Last race of the day, Formula Libre. But the style of driving hasn't changed. Tony broke the course record on his winning drive. And we climb aboard and take our leave of Cadwell Park. Brands Hatch, Sunday, April 30, and the drivers prepare for a day on the full circuit. Won't anyone sell him a nice new steering wheel? Ah, there's just the man, Les Leston. A crowd of over 10,000 had turned out to watch some highly dramatic saloon car racing. And as the last Mini comes out of hiding, we come to the big saloon car race. Sanger's Cortina, with big feet, leads up to Druids. Then there's the usual shuffle at Paddock Bend. Sanger takes the V8 Cortina to victory, and the single-seaters come out for their dice. Following the pattern set by the saloons, the Formula 3 boys had their moments too. First past the flag was Alan Rollinson. But even on the slowing down lap, somebody overcooked it. By the end of the day, there were plenty of pieces to pick up. But that's it for Brands. And we're away north to Oulton Park, where the Northwestern Centre is holding its July meeting. They've a funny idea of standard fuels up here. Stars of the meeting were the Chevrons, now developed to take the BMW engine. the time of the first race draws near, the drivers gather for their briefing by clerk of the course, John Ellison. And from this angle, we can see that there's room at the top. First on the line, Formula Libre cars for their 10-lap race. There's a last-minute scramble to get Peter Horton's Lotus Chevy to fire. And at 2 minutes to the off, they're still struggling. But as the flag falls, the Lotus is away, and it's other people who need a push. John Bridges was first across the line in his Brabham. And as the less fortunate wait for a tow, the saloons are howling their way down to Cascades. First time round at Lodge, and Barry Pearson is just ahead. And one hardly dare look as Forrester does a three-point turn in the middle of the track. That's Forrester again. He always takes the same line at this corner. Clubman sports cars next, and we end our visit to Oulton with their hectic 10-lapper. If you think he got it wrong, take a look at the next character. Greetings to you too, sir. You can come down now, it's all over. And it's all over for us too, as we pack the cars away and move south to Castle Combe in Wiltshire, where the South Western Centre is lining them up for a full day's club racing. Dennis Southwood is well placed to keep an eye on the checkered flag. A high-powered saloon race brought Hugh Dibley's Camaro to the line, and V8s appeared in the most improbable places. Off the line, Dibley's Camaro was at the back of the grid, but over the 10 laps he barreled through to the front and finished ahead of Vince Woodman in the Lotus Cortina. Now the countdown for the Mark sports car race. It's the last chance to check tyres or to have a quick pray. Off the start, John Lewis in the E-Type outdragged John Chatham in his big Healey, and after 10 laps of really hairy motoring, this was the order at the end. But nobody could describe the race as uneventful, as one of the most monumental shunts of all time had taken place at Quarry Bend on the first lap. Mrs. Koenig in her Sprite had rolled 5 times, but without injury. And to see how it happened, let's roll back to lap 1 at Quarry Bend. Mrs. Koenig accepts a lift back to the paddock, and we press on with the second saloon car race. Anglias to the fore on the grid, and the Minis almost shunting on the start. Jeff Mabbs in a Ford engine Mini heads the mob off the start, but by Quarry it was wide open. The second half of the race saw a duel between Ron Fry in the Anglia and John Chappell in the Mini, with only a few thous between them. John Chappell was first home, but Ron Fry broke the class record to end a hard day's dicing. And as the Minis of an earlier age came out for their demonstration, we cut away to revisit Brands Hatch. The BOAC 500 brings the world's fastest sports cars to Brands Hatch for the final round of the Manufacturers' Championship. The world's top drivers are here to do battle over the full circuit for 6 hours. Surtees with ex-Ferrari team manager Tavoni. First time in England for the Chaparral. And a full Ferrari works team of P4s, out to dislodge Porsche from their 1-point lead in the championship. The Ferrari pit was immaculately laid out at the start, and the entry reads like an international who's who of motor racing, with Phil Hill and McLaren, Club Secretary Syret and Denny Hulme, a full Ferrari team, Siffert, Porsche, Hill and Rindt, Porsche, Hermann, Porsche, Westbury, Lola. As the minutes tick by to 12 noon, the flag is raised for the start of the 6-hour BOAC 500. End of lap 1, and Surtees leads in the Lola. With 6 hours of racing ahead, the pits provided as much interest as the track. The Brabham Hulme Lola was briefly in the lead before a pit stop dropped it back behind the leaders. The Chaparral was always near the front and seemed to have the legs of the Ferraris. The Hill Rindt Porsche dropped a valve and was wheeled away to the paddock. Mike Spence and Phil Hill swapped places in the Chaparral. And the Maranello Ferrari comes in with fumes in the cockpit. A snap decision to remove the windows leads to a fairly comic pit stop as a mechanic hammers out the perspex and handfuls of Ferrari are pulled away. By half distance, the Chaparral looked set for a win, and expensive debris was dotted about the countryside. Dennis Southwood helps Cardwell back from the crash chevron, and Surtees is racing on with the sick Lola. Now Hawkins has stuffed the works Ferrari at Clearways. Next time round, he's lost the rear bodywork. At the pits, he's told to go and fetch it. So driving one-handed, he creeps back with the rest of the Ferrari. The end of a brave effort by Surtees as the Lola finally expires. After 6 hours, the flag is out for the winning Chaparral, and Ferrari have beaten Porsche for the Sports Car Championship. Phil Hill and Mike Spence are tired but happy after their drive in the Winged Wonder. And there's another Winged Wonder. This had been a great day for Hill and Spence, and a great day for the British Racing and Sports Car Club, who, with BOAC, had brought a magnificent race to Brands Hatch. Last visit this year is to Mallory Park, where the Midland Centre are at home to a full entry. Don Truman is in command as usual as the saloons are flapping in the heat. Ken Blakemore, whose hooter gives everyone a start. Right from the start, it was obviously going to be one of those days when the track just isn't wide enough for all the drama. Woodman's Cortina scrambled home first out of that melee. And next away, the sports car race. This was a comparatively mild affair, but Harrington parked in an unusual place to watch the cars go by. Next year, we're going to get the engine. But now it's time to leave Mallory as the Fright Brigade set off on their final charge. It looks like a battleground, but nobody was seriously hurt. At this point, the drivers decided to take a tilt at our cameraman instead. That's it for another year from the British Racing and Sports Car Club. Drop along and see us someday. But mind how you park. 1960 saw the first full season of a new type of racing in this country, Formula Junior. New cars and new drivers who were to provide some of the most exciting racing of the year. We'd heard much of the Italian Stangolini with its front engine layout, but our efforts with front engine cars were not quite so successful. It soon became obvious that the main contenders for the Motor Racing Formula Junior Championship were the Cooper and the Lotus, both rear-engine cars. The Lotus, with its small frontal area and light weight, was only one answer to the formula. The Gemini favoured an engine in the front, but Coopers stayed with their rear-engine design. Lola, Envoy, Gemini, an exciting prospect for the battles ahead. The formula requires that standard production engines be used, and Lotus employ the new Ford Anglia engine with twin-choke Weber carburetors. Coopers fit the Austin A40 unit, also with a Weber. The Gemini was built and raced by the Checkered Flag stable, and Ian Raby produced the rear-engined Envoy. The Lola, designed by Broadley, and the Elva, designed by Nichols, both well known in sports car racing. This, unfortunately, was turned down by the scrutineers. Production engines had to be used, but chassis could be designed from scratch. Brakes could be outboard, cut away for extra cooling, or inboard, heavily ribbed. Carburetors. Some chose SUs with ram pipes and spent many a happy hour getting them in balance. Others preferred the twin-choke Weber. All cars were water-cooled. You poured the water in at the top, and it came out at the bottom. These, then, were the cars. But what about the drivers? World champion motorcyclist John Surtees joined the car racing boys at the wheel of a Cooper. Jeff Duke, also a champion motorcyclist, was successful with the Gemini. Dennis Taylor also took to Formula Junior. Keith Palisat, well-known rally driver, and Ian Raby tries everything. And of course, the well-known big game hunter was there to keep us in the picture. But it was Trevor Taylor and Jim Clark in their Lotuses who were to set the pace. And so, dressed to kill, the Formula Junior Brigade turned up at Brands Hatch for the international meeting on August the 27th. Somebody buying a racing car by installments. "22 Formula Junior cars came out for the start of the John Davey Trophy, the 11th event to count for the Motor Racing Championship. The flag's up, and they're away. Coming into the bottom straight is the fastest traffic jam you've ever seen. The watches are on the leaders, and it's a scorching pace. Second time round, and it's Ashdown's Lola with McKee in the Lotus a car's length behind. On the fourth lap, it's McKee in the lead with Ashdown second as they go down into the bottom straight. But by half distance, McKee's in the pits, and the lead goes to Trevor Taylor, Lotus. The Formula Junior cars are showing their handling qualities on this tricky circuit. Here, in slow motion, Dennis Taylor in the Lola. Uberov, Lotus, and the leader, Trevor Taylor, beginning to lap the back markers. Surtees, Cooper, now in third place, with the field well spread out. And Taylor's given the ease up signal after having broken the Formula Junior lap record. Last lap, and Taylor's 10 seconds ahead. The John Davey Trophy goes to Taylor at an average speed of over 85 miles an hour. In second place, Jim Clark. Well, we seem to have got the bugs out of that. This win puts Taylor well in the lead for the Motor Racing Formula Junior Championship. The Gold Cup meeting at Oulton Park saw a large entry of Formula Junior machines. By now there was no question about it. Lotus were on winning form. A perfect day as cars are prepared in the paddock. The standard of preparation is very high, and it's unusual for a Formula Junior machine to drop out through mechanical failure. I know it goes on here somewhere. Some were super confident. They didn't unwrap the cars until the 5-minute signal. Shouldn't you be preparing the car or something? Daddy, why's all that oil coming out of the bottom? While the Formula Junior drivers prepared for their race, the Formula One boys were showing how it should be done. Ken Tyrrell with the Cooper and the very pretty Caravelle. It's first right at the end of the straight, followed by a couple of bends, and then go straight on till you come to some trees. Chris Summers, Lotus. And so to the start, with 28 cars lined up. In the middle, Mike Bond, number 34. Number 32, Trevor Taylor. Number 33, Peter Arundel, both in Lotuses. 2 minutes to go. Number 64 is Proctor. Number 31, Jim Clark. Number 37, McKee. 5 has been briefed. Comes to 5, and then we've got still 2 more back. One minute to go. 157.8 this time. And they're away, 4 abreast into the first bend. Coming down into Cascades, it's Clark in the lead, followed by Proctor and Arundel, all in Lotuses, with the pack beginning to spread out already. First time at Lodge Corner is Clark, Arundel, Proctor. The order's the same at Cascades, but Clark's pulling away. Nobody can match the pace set by Clark in the Lotus, and he sets up a new junior lap record at over 89 miles an hour. The pace is too hot for Uvarov's Lotus, and he comes in with overheating troubles. Meanwhile, Clark continues to break all records and is soon lapping the tail enders. Lower down the field, individual battles are being fought. Number 42 is Major Malik in his U2. By half distance, it was obvious that no one was making any impression on the leaders, but there was no easing up, with the race average in the upper 80s. Seen here in slow motion is McKee in the Lotus and Fenning in the Venom. Looks like hard work. Major Malik again. Clark is beckoned past as he laps a slower car, and McKee goes through fast in 5th place. Fenning is still working to stay on the tarmac, and Barisat takes a clean line through Cascades. Now the watches are on Clark as he goes into his last lap. The checkered flag is ready, and nothing can stop him now. And he goes over the line, an easy winner ahead of Trevor Taylor. Silverstone, the British Empire Trophy, last of the season's Formula Junior events, and certainly the wettest. As Jim Clark was ineligible for this event, it didn't count towards the championship, and the final result placed Clark and Taylor, both in Lotuses, equal first for the Motor Racing Formula Junior Championship. This was more like motor boating than motor racing, but it did serve to show the extremely fine handling qualities of these racing cars, which had, in one short summer, put Britain on top in international Formula Junior. And so, as drivers indulged in the fastest mobile shower bath they'd ever had, the British Empire Trophy closed the Formula Junior season for 1960. At the end of the day, eager heads turned to watch next year's Formula One machines in a secret practice session.
There are two more titles in the Motor Racing 60s style series, 1961 and 1962, with Ferrari GTO versus lightweight E-Type, starring Stirling Moss, Graham Hill, Joe Bonnier, and many others, driving cars as humble as they come and as powerful as they made them, a truly golden era. 1963 and 1964, Dan Gurney and the Ford Galaxy, and Hopkirk in the Mini, with Jaguar saloons and E-Types and Ferraris galore. Jim Clark, Graham Hill, Jack Sears, GTs, saloons, sports and racing cars, the days of true motorsport. All PP Video titles are available, price £14.95, from all good book, video and accessory stores. In case of difficulty, contact PP Video at this address and we'll put you in touch with your nearest stockist.